Good morning, everybody. I think I'm going to do something just a little bit different today. Um, because I'm going to touch on a subject that a lot of people don't want to hear, and I really don't care. um, and that's my faith. Um, I have always believed in God. Um, I was angry with God for a lot of years. I mean, a lot of years. And, throughout my childhood and my as an adult, I um, went back and forth to different churches. Um, I had one church I was going to with my daughter's father, and when he left me, and it was a Lutheran church. And when he left me, the church called me in and um, basically demanded that I continue to tithe at the level that we were tithing, even though he was gone. They didn't talk to me about the fact that he left, if there was any way to reconcile or anything like that. They just wanted their money, and I was in charge of the kitchen there. I was heavily indebted and embedded into the church, but yet all they were interested in is whether or not they got their money. They tried guilting me, they tried doing all this kind of stuff, and that's just not the kind of church that you want to belong to, because it's just not right. It didn't stop me from going to church. It did stop me for a little while, but I ended up going to a different church. And again, I was the church secretary, and I went out. I was gone for a month or so, a couple of months, because I had surgery and I wasn't allowed to get up and move around, and I couldn't go anywhere. And when I came back, beforehand, I had a discussion with the pastor, and he said nothing's going to change. It's going to be the same as it's been, blah, blah, blah. And when I came back, they had completely changed it to the way that the organist had wanted it. And she was very old-fashioned and very old school, and that's the way she wanted the sermons and church to be like. And that's not how the rest of the church wanted it. It was off-putting to them. They wanted something a little more modern, which was the reason why the organist had left previously. And when I came back, I had a discussion with the pastor, and the pastor lied to me. And when I confronted him with the lie, he started backpedaling. So again, I left. I'm just not going to a church like that. And I get that pastors and churches are run by people. They're human. They're going to have flaws. They're going to sin. I get that. I do. I understand that. But that doesn't mean that I have to attend and pretend I agree with what this pastor is doing or saying or whatever. I can find another one. And I've been to, even since then, I've been to numerous churches. Even here in Ohio, I've been to a couple of churches. I found one that I really like. But I spent a lot of years not going to church, and I went down a deep hole. Mainly because after the last one where the pastor lied to me, there was about a 10 or 15 year gap that I did not go to church. I went down a deep, dark hole. I went through my final divorce, which also triggered me and put me down a path that was just not good. And it didn't help with the anger. It just piled onto the anger that I already had, and it made it worse. And I guess when I moved back to Florida, because I don't remember really looking for a church in Colorado, but when I moved back to Florida, I started trying to find churches. And I went to several churches in Florida. I just couldn't find one I was really, really comfortable with. There was one across the street from where I lived that I went to the most. I went to it, I don't know, 6 or 7 times. But there was something off about it. Something that just didn't set well with me. And I still don't know what it was. It was beautiful. The church was absolutely beautiful. But there was just something off about the church. It doesn't matter how far off the rails that your life has gone. For me, church is always the answer. With this church, I got into, they invited me to their Bible study, and that has helped me the most. As I've previously said, I spent 1.5 years, and what really did it for me was a couple of years ago, I had an epiphany where I realized that I could not be mad at somebody, so very mad, so long, so angry at somebody if this person wasn't real. You can't be mad at God and not believe in God. That's what it boils down to. Because it's like being mad at the Easter Bunny. Easter Bunny isn't real. It's silly to get mad at the Easter Bunny. If God isn't real, then why are you mad at him? That's what triggered me, and that's what kind of sparked me into really finding a church. And the church that I found, it was just happenstance. I had attempted to go to another church, and I had walked in. I didn't know where I was. Nobody said anything to me, and it was obvious I was confused and didn't know where I was. Nobody said anything to me. I turned around and walked out. And it was not long after I had moved up here, and I was starting to look for a house, so I just decided to drive around and see if I could find what I could find for sale. Of course, I didn't realize that the prices up here were just crazy. But I digress. As I was driving around looking at property, I came across a sign of a church that said that the service started at 11 o'clock, and it was like 5 minutes till. I said, I can make this, and did a quick U-turn and showed up there, and I haven't left yet. I'm now on the S&P. What's today's date? No, that's next week. Okay. I'm on the S&P committee. I check in the kids to Sunday school. I go to Bible study every week or whenever we have them. It's not always weekly, depending on the time of year and the holidays that are going on. I help out with stuff that, whatever is needed over there. It gives me a sense of community. I'm around people, which is good for me because I stay alone way too much. And quite honestly, I'm much happier. I'm not angry all the time. I'm not saying that I'm bouncing off the walls happy, but I'm not angry. And that's a big improvement. Just that. I'm still getting depressed occasionally, but it doesn't last as long. It doesn't last hardly at all. It's a day maybe. Where before I would have what I would call my black cloud hanging over my head for months. I'm not saying my faith at this point means everything to me. I'm not trying to push it on anybody. I just know what it's done for me.